You're listening to the Anxious Scholar Podcast, a podcast for anxious scholars. If you're a high school student who can't wait to go to university, but also is kind of overwhelmed with lots of unanswered questions like me, then you've definitely come to the right place. On this podcast, I sit down with EGM alumni while they share valuable advice from this exciting journey of theirs that we have yet to take. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn lots of useful information about the college application process, unis, and higher education in general. Hello everyone, this is Victoria from the Anxious Scholar Podcast, and I'm delighted to be a guest at the El-Ahdab family's home here in Paris. Two generations of EGM alumni, Mr. El-Ahdab, his older son Ryan, and his younger son Jed, who's a current high school student in our school. I always start by asking this question because we have an international school and people can come from all around the world. So I was wondering if you can each give a brief introduction about yourself, where you were born, what languages you speak, when you graduated from EGM, and what your current academic or professional situation is.
So my name is Jad. I was born 22 October 2008 in Ile-sur-Seine. Right now I'm in EGM in high school, and I speak French, Arabic, Spanish, English, a little bit of Chinese.
As far as I'm concerned, my name is Jalal. I graduated from EGM in 1990. I'm born in 1973 in Lebanon, and I think you've asked the languages we speak at home: French, English, and Arabic.
For myself, my name is Ryan. I was born in 2003 in El-Ahdab as well. I graduated from EGM in 2021. Actually in ESCP Business School, entering my senior year of college. And the languages I speak are French, English, Spanish, and Arabic.
Well, thank you for this introduction. Ryan, you mentioned how you're starting your third year at ESCP Business School in Madrid.
Yes.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about your experience with the college application process, what universities you applied to, also what specialité you took in high school, what bac you did?
So the college admission process, so first I did not only apply to ESCP, I applied to a lot of different schools around the world. Was this a good idea? I don't know. It could for other students who have the time to prepare essays, to prepare interviews, to have really some time for this. And my application process here was kind of stressful because I did apply in a lot of schools. So I applied in Columbia, NYU, King's, UCL, Bocconi, ESCP, a lot of other French schools via Parcoursup. And in fine, I'm here at ESCP, and the admission process was pretty basic. It was to write a statement of purpose at first, and then I had an interview that was conducted in English, and went pretty well. And I got accepted and did my first year in London, second in Madrid, and I'm now entering my third year in Paris doing a work and study system, so in alternance, which I'll start on Monday. Yeah.
So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Also, it's very interesting because you're traveling in different countries, and it's a program where you said in England, in Madrid, and now in Paris. Is there something that you especially liked about the university and the ESCP? For example, Madrid, you studied Spanish, like you said.
Yeah.
Would you be interested to work there? Maybe start a business?
Start a business in Madrid. I don't know. It's a small city that I can more likely compare it to Paris. Even though I liked London, but it was a way more bigger city where you can get a bit lost if you don't really have your ways and you get really a sense of the city, and then really have the time to visit it. It's a huge city compared to Madrid. Madrid, I really had the time to settle in, have my different sites on the city, so I was more able to be at ease in Madrid than in London. But starting a business there, I don't think so.
Do you know
Because,
what industry you would like to work in?
not
Regardless
yet.
of the country where you will do
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm currently starting an internship in finance and private equity. However, I'm not sure I'm going to pursue this in the next few years. But I'm really interested in fashion, so why not merging those two concepts, fashion and finance? I'd like to do this. Let's see where this gets, and I hope I can live from that.
And you, Jad, do you have an idea of what you would like to do in the future? Maybe something that interests you or that you're interested in doing or studying?
Maybe I would like to work in the theme of cinema and
The film industry, right?
Yeah, film
So-
industry and
As an actor?
no, not as an actor, as a director, and or maybe working like a business and finance stuff.
And for you, Mr. El-Ahdab, when was it that you knew you wanted to pursue a career in law?
I thought you were going to ask me what do you want to do in your life. Well, you know, it's never too late. One of my dreams was actually to hold a flower shop, and somehow I'm doing this, as we say in French, by procuration, because that's exactly the business that my wife started a few years ago. So I'm doing it, but through her, and I'm very happy about this path she's pursuing. I didn't know, to be honest, that I wanted to be a lawyer. I had ties with this profession simply because my father was one lawyer, and it wasn't that much what he was doing uh, than his passion about his job. He really liked it, and that's what he transmitted to me. And eventually, although I did a prépa, I did a business school, etc., I did say at some point in my academic path, I would want to do law, which is exactly what I did. But whether I'll be a lawyer or not, this is not something I had in mind. It was one option amongst others. I just thought that it was the right thing to do when I started thinking about being a professor of law, and then eventually I got accepted at Columbia, and then it was really the lawyering path rather than teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did teach at the same time when practicing law.
Yes, you've had a 13-year-long academic journey where you could discover yourself and understand what you wanted to study.
Too long a path.
Could you tell us a little bit about it? Because you've studied in many schools. You started by attending the Institut Supérieur de Gestion. I was wondering what prépa you did before that.
I was at Intégrale Initial, which at the time I know that it's still amongst the top prépa. I think Gabrielle, who gave you some math lessons, was at Intégrale, and she I think she got accepted at HEC. But back then it was amongst the two top private prépa with IPSUP and Ginette. And I was very delighted to be accepted there. I worked very hard, and it taught me many things, you know, being in a prépa. But today it seems like you have so many different paths to do a business school, like Ryan is doing a bachelor at ESCP without doing a prépa. And it's another way actually to reach probably the same results, the same success, without necessarily working very, very hard for 2 years, if not more.
And you did a bac physics and math.
Mhm.
Was the prépa, I'm not aware, is it a prépa littéraire or mathematics, scientific?
Mathématiques.
Mathematics. So
Yes.
at that point, you didn't know you were gonna necessarily do law.
No, what I really liked about doing a prépa HEC and not génie to do, to become an engineer, was that it was the continuation of your what was the Matelin back then. So you had a good mixture between math, economics, history, philosophy. So that was a very nice and you had it in a very taught in a very nice manner.
We'll come back to this when asking about the choices of Jade and the specialty in mathematics and the role that it plays in our education. But I wanted to also ask you about what prompted you to pursue studies in economics and finance, such as what you studied in Sciences Po.
I've always liked math, figures, and that was one option amongst others. So although I thought of doing something that had to do with finance and math, it was more something having to do with counseling, advising, working in a firm like McKinsey or Bain or those, big companies, but less in banking. And then the other alternative was law. And somewhere in my mind, I was thinking about flowers.
And so, what made you want to become an international arbitrator?
Well, the international law part that was what prompted my decision. When you do international law, even if you don't travel, and you do travel a lot, you travel in your mind. You apply different laws. You get to know different systems. You adapt, and that's probably something that is not completely by chance. If I did go. I did follow this path because I think EGM prepared me for that. This openness and this readiness to embrace an international career.
And so, do you think it is grievous if we realize that the path that we have chosen is not necessarily right for us, especially in medical or judicial careers like yours?
Well, there are two things. My path is a little bit special in the sense that it was long, and as I said, probably too long. Second, I could afford it. I had parents who could help me, support me. That's not a given, and today it costs a lot basically to study. So to study for a long period, you really have to have the chance to have parents who can support that. And three, I think you need to like to learn, and that's something I believe I always liked until now. When I have a new case in a completely new sector, I just love it because I understand the dynamics, I understand the technicity of this new sector, and it's like you renew yourself. It's like a reset. You start from scratch and you get to know something completely new, and that's really something that I really like, this ability to start every. I mean, it's like something quite classical, not liking the routine.
You mentioned your parents. Did your parents have a significant influence on your choices of higher education or career?
My mom was a math teacher, so for her math was really fundamental. She really helped me, but until one stage, and then afterwards she wasn't following. They really gave me much liberty, and they never, even my father, he never pushed me to do law, and I think that's exactly the clever thing to do. Even if you deep inside you want your kids to do something, you can do it in a subtle manner, but just don't intermingle. Let them choose, because that's how they're going to succeed.
Was this your experience, Ryan, with your parents helping you with your choices of education or careers?
They did not have an influence in regards to my different choices. I mean, Of course, I asked them whether this was a good idea, what you think of this, what you think of that, and they gave me their opinion. I followed them, and of course, it was very useful. But I never wanted, and he and my dad never asked me to pursue a career in law or in finance or anything like this. I chose by myself the universities I wanted to attend, I wanted to apply, um, and I did by my own. My father helped me through the application process too, and I'm grateful for that a lot. Um, and yeah, I think I deserve my place at ESCP today, even though it wasn't my first choice.
And speaking of choices, Jade, you started second this September. This year, you're going to choose your spécialité. Do you have an idea of which spécialité you would like to take in première?
So right now, I think I'm still like resisting to the fact that I'm still in the beginning
Of the year.
The year, yeah. And I think I still need time to think about what I'm going to choose. But I think I'm still I'm sure about the fact that I'm going to choose maths and history, probably.
It's HGSP, right? That's the SP.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's history, geography, geopolitics, and sciences politiques. Geopolitics.
You like history?
So
This
the same specialties as me then, math and Sciences Po.
So you'll be able to advise your brother in this
I
year
will,
with his
yeah,
choices.
a lot of keynotes and fiche and things like this for him. Don't worry about it.
Big brother advice.
Yeah.
Mr. El-Ahdab, do you find this new revised back better than the last one, as it gives the children more freedom to choose, or perhaps on the contrary, because it's perhaps maybe less straightforward and allows for maybe less consistency in the children's choices? That's an interesting debate going on right now.
You know, your question reminds me of an exposé you did back from Germany. Remember? You were in Germany, and then you presented to the whole audience, your parents, your trip there. You went and saw Berlin, the wall, how it collapsed, and you visited the camps, the old camps, and then at some point I think you knew by heart this song, "The Wind of Change." Remember that? Okay. And your question reminds me of that you can't stop the wind of change. And I think to some extent there is a propension for people like me, and he probably my two boys here will think the same way in 30 years. There is always this reflex to think it was better before. And I think that it's difficult to take some distance with what you've experienced, because what you've experienced is what built you. And you always think it was the best way. Yet, well, things change, fortunately. And although I had some reservations about many things that made the back evolved, I think that it's good that it adapts to the society today. Freedom is good, always good. So if you give choice to the students, I think it's a good thing, but perhaps not too much. And this is why perhaps re-establishing math as something that is mandatory up to a certain level is probably not a bad idea.
But your son mentioned also how he wants to take the spécialité math, which isn't mandatory. Do you think that's important, even if you, for example, want to pursue studies in law like yourself? Do you think math is very fundamental in our studies and should be pursued as much as we can?
It is fundamental in every sense of the term. You have fundamental math, and then you have math applied to physics and everything. And I think it's fundamental. And actually, when you study law, many people will tell you that there are many common points between the law and math. Law is actually very, very logical. And when you see some pleadings, you see some lessons, you will see that it's very, very logical. It's sometimes too rigid, but it is fundamental. This reasoning, it helps you, the math reasoning, it helps you for so many fields. Sometimes it's good to have those fundamentals, and at the same time to be perhaps a little bit also artistic and be more flexible. But having math somewhere in your drawer, it's a good thing too.
Did you have a figure in your life who inspired you or served as a mentor?
There was one professor I had at Assas who died in very unfortunate circumstances in a crash with his entire family back in 2004. His name was Philippe Fouchard. I really loved him. He was very humble, quite tough, austere, but he made me love arbitration, which is what I'm doing. He wrote a book which I loved, and which made me write a book on the same theme. And other than that, I had someone who was a professor of philosophy whom I met during my 2 years in Prépa, who is a philosopher and who's actually specialized in psychology. That lady became actually a good friend of mine, and actually she knows Ryan. Her name is Claudine Chevalier.
Why did you decide to enroll your sons at EGM?
Very early, that's what I wanted them to. That's where I wanted them to study because of the mindset. I joined the EGM, and my parents actually took me from a very good school where I was, a Catholic school, where there was, let's say, issues of racism in general, not something, and they really wanted an atmosphere, a mindset, a way of teaching that was very open. And that was the philosophy, and it's still the same. And I think I remember having read this thing about Janine Manuel when she established the school a long time ago. And she said, World War II, never again. And the best way to avoid that is to have people coming from different countries, cultures, religions, live together, work together, study together. And then that's the basis basically to build peace. Is it sufficient? I don't know, but it helps.
You're absolutely right. One of the founding principles of our school is the idea of learning and transmitting cultures through language. So you are Lebanese.
Yes.
Your father
and French.
And French. Your father spoke Arabic with you when growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you speak Arabic with your children?
I try. It's not like the rule. It's more like the exception. But they do understand Arabic, Lebanese Arabic. We made a bargain, Jad and I. He is, because of Janine Manuel, he is learning many languages, of course French, of course English, but also Spanish, and then Chinese, which he took, which was mandatory since since your...
Chinese?
Before, yes, actually, in the very early classes, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. But then he said, I want to stop. I said, nah, I really would like you to continue Chinese. But then he convinced me that it was simply too hard. I said, okay, but then you resume Arabic, because he was learning Arabic until I don't know what age. Then he stopped 2-3 years ago. But the bargain, the deal is that he resumes Arabic if he wants to stop Chinese.
A question for everyone: Who is or was your favorite teacher at EGM? Maybe we can start with Jad, since for whom it's still fresh in the memory, probably.
Ever, your best teacher ever.
Mr. Barban.
Who
French
teaches?
teacher.
It's a French teacher.
Why?
He was my main teacher in CZM. He not only did he really teach well French, but he did also teach. He was very good at listening to everyone when we had problems with other classes or other teachers, and he was just a really good,
Very caring.
very caring teacher.
Me, Um, I'll get into trouble, I think.
No,
No.
I think you liked Madame Boulet.
I liked a lot Madame Boulet. She was my math teacher in troisième or seconde. But I had another history professor, which is called Mr. De Souza, Barry De Souza, which is such a great teacher, and it was really a pleasure listening to him teach. And plus I went to India with him in a trip, and so this really made the links closer. So we got to know each other better. He talked about like his real life, not just only as a professor, because he's also a psychologist. He does yoga, I think, or he's passionate about a lot of things. The Cold War history, but on the other side, psychology. So this guy was really.
He wore multiple hats.
He wore multiple hats. And I think he's still a teacher at EGM. I don't know if you heard about him, but if you do get him as a history teacher, you won't fail at the Compo. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I had in physics a very good teacher whose name is Madame Castin, I think. I loved her. And then I had someone, I think I was told, and I was very sad about that she passed away, a history teacher, Madame Perrier. She made me love history. And I was learning history at the time in 90. That was the wind of change because the USSR collapsed, and it was basically the entry into a new era, and everything was changing back at the time. 98, 90, amazing times, and we learned so many things. It was amazing.
You were living it in the moment.
Yes.
Drawing from your experiences now of having graduated from EGM, of having had a successful career, of studying, what benefits has your education at EGM brought to your lives?
You start.
Again, an open mind, this ability to speak different languages, to learn different languages. So I am trying basically to resume Spanish, which I took in EGM. And actually, the reality is that one of my best friends today, if not my best friend, is someone I met at EGM. And that bond is something that will probably live until the end.
So first of all, I didn't want to go to EGM because I was nice and comfy at my school in Lübeck. I didn't want to change schools. I was scared of making new friends. But eventually it went fine, really fine.
Just fine?
Just fine, yeah.
Not more than that.
It went great. EGM is a great school. And what I really learned from it, and every student, I think, it's really that international background you have at the end of your time there, and really you get to know different cultures, meet different professors from different regions of the world, and they all will have a different way of teaching that will reflect on their background. So you'll have a different way of writing, of talking, thanks to them. And I think we had a great. We were taught really to talk and to write in a manner that not all schools that teach English will do. And I'm grateful for this. And even though we had some conflicts at some times, but we always had the choice to talk with everyone, with the superior, with the directors. We were always free to talk, and that was important, freedom of speech there. It's one of their values too. And yeah, every head must bow, every tongue must confess. I respect EGM, and it was really a pleasure studying there. And I think I wouldn't be like where I'm here, and I don't think I would have applied to those schools if I wasn't at EGM.
And what about your friends today?
My friends,
Whom you met at GM, do you have anything in common with them?
yeah, I mean, there were some that applied to also a lot of schools, international schools, and one thing that I'd say when applying to colleges is not to compare too much yourself to others, because there are people that come from really either an American background or really an international background that at their start of troisième or secondaire already have that path with their parents that want them to absolutely go to the US or to the UK or whatever. And at that time I didn't know about it. It was start of première terminale, where I knew and I heard that people were studying SAT, that were already starting application. I was kind of stressed about this. And I know that in other schools, you don't have this. The ratio of people applying internationally is much lower in other schools. That's one thing. And in EGM, you'll be more stressed about your future, I think, but that's a good thing as well, because it will force you to do better and to want to be accepted in top schools and
to aim for the best.
Aim for the best, yeah. It's really a thing that was taught to us as well. Excellence.
Academic excellence.
Yeah.
Do you have a final piece of advice that you would like to give to graduating students of UGM, education-wise, career-wise, life-wise?
Wow, that's a tough one. Any advice? I think perhaps just make sure to remain connected, because as you move on to something else, your studies at university, then you build your life, etc., you tend to forget about where you're coming, and school is a foundational moment, and it's important to remember that. Who are your teachers, because they marked you, whoever they were, your friends back then, yes, stay connected. And I think today it's easier, and with what you're doing, this podcast, the alumni that is even more active today, I think it's something that people should be advised to bear in mind.
And last question, what does success mean to each of you?
Okay, perhaps you want to start. I think you mentioned something when we discussed it about getting rich, correct?
Yes. So for me, success is reaching your top self, being the best self you can.
So not just having money, a lot of money. Is it a question of millions or billions?
No, it's a question of achieving what you set your mind to. For example, me, I think my dream would be to be one of the greatest directors of all time.
Actors?
Directors.
Directors, okay.
Of all time, but...
Can I play in one of your movies? Because that was one of my dreams. I didn't mention this with the flowers, but I would have liked to act in a movie.
Okay.
Will you castings?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So to achieve this plan of becoming the best director,
you want to be the next Francis Ford Coppola, or what's his name? I love him too. This movie director, you know him, Scorsese, whom I love. So if you want to be the next courses.
You have to set your mind onto it and work really hard for it. And after, you'll get what you have to earn. Yeah. And it's also a question of matter and matter of time and trying again and again, even though you fail.
One day I'll be able to answer that question and tell you, okay, I know what success, and I feel I succeed. There's successful things I achieved in my life. So today I think success is, and I'll say again what Jad just said. Set your mind into something that you want to achieve. Have goals, and work hard toward those goals. And when you have this feeling that you achieve those goals, I think success is here. And when you have the endeavor to work for someone, to work for a company, to earn a lot of money, when you have this endeavor, and at the end, eventually you get it. You won the game. You won the game of life. You feel that you're successful. I think it's at that point of life you feel that everything is possible and you can do whatever please you. So I think success is just the pursuit of happiness, the path of happiness, and success is linked to happiness. I don't know what is happiness either, but both are bonding a lot, and you can't work without happiness, and you can be successful without happiness.
Success. Yes, achieving your goals. That gives you a feeling of success because you set a goal and then you've achieved it. I think it's really probably beyond that. I think there's a little bit of happiness. Happiness is probably even an objective beyond success, right? And it may be also something about being not too harsh with yourself. If you didn't reach everything you wanted to do, it's okay because you did precisely your best, like Jad was saying. It's finding something like a sort of serenity, of balance in life. I think that reaching that is being able to, I'm not sure I'm there, is, yes, fulfillment. This is probably success, and that probably requires to check many boxes, and once you're there, you know it, but it takes time.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in on this episode of the Anxious Scholar podcast. See you in 2 weeks for the next interview, and don't miss out on any additional information on our Instagram @TheAnxiousScholar.